A very happy Sunday to you here on Today at Keeneland as we embark upon more quality action here this afternoon from Keeneland during this Fall Stars weekend. We had quite the day yesterday, which we'll touch on in just a few moments. But with you again, Scott Hazleton, Gabby Gaudette. What a whirlwind day it was with that 11 race card yesterday. A lot still to unpack. Gabby, I think we're still doing so as we go through big international racing earlier this morning at Longchamp with Enable being defeated by Satsas in the Arc de Triomphe. And it just keeps on rolling along, and it's just going to keep on rolling along through this card here today.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a big day yesterday, a big day before on Friday afternoon, typical of Fall Stars weekend. And of course, Swiss Skydiver beating the boys in the Grade 1 Preakness yesterday. So yeah, I would say there's been a lot going on, Scott.
It most certainly has been. And we saw some big time performances. Thinking back to yesterday, we saw Leinster. He defended his home turf here at Keeneland. There's Uni. She's the first two-time Grade 1 winner of the First Lady presented by UK Healthcare. Essential Quality, certainly a favorite for the Juvenile and one of the favorites for the Derby next year. And then we saw Ivor bring the house down and Paulo Lobo shake the grandstand with his celebration coming down to the winner's circle right as he was crossing the wire. It was quite the day. And those horses, I mean, we had 5 winners, 4 with automatic bids into the Breeders' Cup. But obviously Leinster also has that spot into the Breeders' Cup as well, even though it wasn't a Breeders' Cup win and you're in. These are horses that you have to truly pay attention to in a month's time when it comes down to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, of course, Uni. I know a lot of people going into the race yesterday, a lot of people thought that she might have lost a step. So it was really good to see her come around and get the victory over Newspaper of Record. I would assume that she will be pointing towards the Breeders' Cup Mile instead of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, just like she did last year, going to victory. But yesterday was an important day for those Breeders' Cup win and your ends. And once again today, Scott, another important day for those final preparations for the Breeders' Cup.
Before we dive into the races, let's get to the weather, thanks to our friends at WKYT.
Good morning, race fans. We are looking at a great day out there at Keeneland, but we may be dodging a few showers out there throughout the day. Not all day rain, not complete washout conditions, but through the afternoon, evening, it's more of an isolated scatter chance where a few races throughout the meet may be impacted. Otherwise, temperatures today into the lower 60s, a bit gusty out there from the south and west, shifting to the north and west as we get into later on today. Otherwise, have a great race and enjoy this afternoon.
And Gabby, if I get wet today, I'm going to blame you because you lost our umbrellas. And that's the truth. You've not been able to find the Keeneland umbrellas that were given to us last year.
Twice. I've lost them twice.
Two
Scott.
sets, yeah. Two sets.
I lose my keys. I lose my phone. I use my swipey card. I'm a mess. There's no doubt about it. I can't even defend myself anymore.
They sell them in the gift shop. That's all I'm going to say. Let's talk full card selections here. Consensus picks for this afternoon presented by TVG. And once again, as we mentioned yesterday, you can get access to all of these consensus picks via the Keeneland app. Make sure you download it on your smartphone. And 4s will be a good thing. If there's a lot of yellow flashing past the wire today, Gabby's going to have a good day.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even realize that I picked the 4 horse in 4 consecutive races. So, yeah, I hope the 4 prevails here today. It's interesting that looking at the featured races, including the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster and the Grade 2 Bourbon, you and I go in completely different directions.
We'll get to that in a second. You know what you need to do? You need to pay like a $10 or a $5 early pick for just 4s. That's
okay.
It. Races 2 through 5, $5 or $10
afford that.
After you buy those umbrellas. Social media, let's talk about that. You can give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We've got it all covered. At Keeneland Racing on Twitter, at Keeneland on Facebook, on Instagram, at Keeneland. And don't forget to download the Watch TVG app. For those of you watching us on TVG2, if you're not watching us in HD, you can do so on the Watch TVG app. That's on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Apple TV. And we appreciate you joining us this morning here on Today at Keeneland on TVG2. And for those of you viewing us on CWKYT, we've got a big day in store for you as we dive into the Grade 1 feature, the Juddmonte Spinster. And what a race this is going to be, even though we've got just a field of 6. And sadly, we don't have Midnight Bisou, who we were expecting to see run in this race. Her announcement of retirement coming earlier this week. But it then opens the door for a horse like She Dares the Devil to arrive here off of her Kentucky Oaks victory, which we'll get to in certainly just a second. But I'm going to go with the filly to the outside, the number 6 horse, Lady Kate, for Anderson Stables, a filly by Bernardini that they bought for $485,000. She's trained by Eddie Keneally. Her mare, Princess Haya, the daughter of Street Cry, was a two-time winner at the 1 1/8 distance. This filly, Lady Kate, has never been given the opportunity until today to go this far, and I think that she will thrive with a performance at 9 furlongs this afternoon. Let's take you back to her last race. This was going 1 1/16 at Churchill Downs, where she was part of the pace. She's down on the inside. She's ultimately going to be passed by Monomoy Girl. There is no Monomoy Girl in this race, let's be real, today. So you can't hold this against her, and she's 2 3/4 lengths clear of the rest of the competition as she maintains that position that she does here. I truly think that the 1 1/8 distance is going to bring out the best in Lady Kate here today. You've got Tyler Gaffalione in the saddle. Watch for her in a breakout performance, in my opinion. And then the number 3 horse, the second choice, She Dares the Devil. We know that she can get the 1 1/8. She'll be sitting off the pace or just off of that pace, maybe just off of Lady Kate or Ollie's Candy. What does she do? She's always right up there involved in the early pace. And the workout reports that I was able to read on the daughter of Candy Ride are sterling. So watch out for her. It's a competitive race, but I'm going to go with Lady Kate, a horse that will probably be in the 4 to 5 to 1 range come post time.
Well, Scott, it's worth mentioning that every year this race is very important for, a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. As Blue Prize, she won this race last year and used that to springboard into a victory in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Distaff. I don't know. I honestly think that this is a shorter field, but a very potent field. It was tough for me to kind of nail down on one particular horse, but I think Ollie's Candy is just the best at this distance, and it doesn't bother me that she can maybe stalk behind the pace of Lady Kate. You're right. She's very fast. Lady Kate is very fast, and I don't think Ollie's Candy will ultimately go and run with her early, but she can effectively rate just off of her. We'll take you back to her last race in the Grade 1 Clement Hirsch at Del Mar, where she was second behind Fighting Mad. And this was a situation where Fighting Mad went to the front end, got loose on the lead, and just went wire to wire. You can see Ollie's Candy fighting mightily behind the eventual winner. She just couldn't get past her, considering how the race played out. She's been close. I mean, look at the races and the fields that she's faced. She's a Julie, CC. She even ran in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year, too. So I think this is the right type of scenario for Ollie's Candy to get this Grade 1 win in the Spinster today. So she's going to be the top pick, but I'm also going to use the number 1 Saracosa for Cipriano Contreras. This is a filly who was very wide last time out at Churchill in the Grade 1 La Troyenne, and she should be closing from off the pace. And then finally, the 3 She Dares the Devil will be going against older fillies and mares for the first time today, Scott. And this hasn't been done in the Grade 1 Spinster since 2013 when Emollient won.
She's got a tall task, but she tackled and beat a Preakness winner in her last race, and now Preakness winner with Swiss Skydiver in that Kentucky Oaks. So certainly something to her credit in that instance. Who is going to go favored in this race? Is it going to be She Dares the Devil?
I would say it's hard to say. I think it's either Ollie's Candy or She Dares the Devil. I don't have the morning line in front of me either. I
think that's a fair point. Let's find out more about Ollie's Candy. Here's Tom Leach with her trainer, John Sadler.
Joined by trainer John Sadler, who will saddle Ollie's Candy in the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster. How's she coming up to the race?
She's coming up to the race really, really well. She's coming off a series of really good races where she's run outstanding, just hasn't got the W in her last few starts. But she's a quality mare, and we feel that the Santa Anita main track maybe is not her preferred surface, so that's why we're going to Keeneland for the Spinster.
What about the 1 1/8? Any concern at all?
Not really. She's been good at a 1:16. She was 4th in the Breeders' Cup last year at a 1 1/8. We don't think distance is a problem with her.
She has had such tough luck this year. What do you think the key is going to be, other than surface change, to get the results you want?
Well, it just depends on how the race sets up. You know, I haven't seen who's a large group was nominated. We'll see how what the setup is. She's pretty tactical. She can go to the front or she can sit off a little bit. What she does do is she kind of waits a little bit when she gets in front. So it'll be up to Rosario to figure it out.
Why is Joel a good fit for her?
He rode her at Oaklawn. He rode her in New York, and she's just run lights out with big numbers. So he's a friend of mine, and I think he's one of the top riders in the country. So I'm excited to have him on her.
Good luck in the Spinster.
Thank you so much.
That is John Sadler with Ollie's Candy, the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster on the Sunday card at Keeneland.
Rosario, one of the top riders in the country. Sadler, one of the top trainers in the country. And Ollie's Candy, one of the top disc staffers in the country. I think the key takeaway there was I don't think they really want the lead, Gabby. I think that they need a target, and that target has to come most likely from Lady Kate, and she's got to time it just right on the wire in order to come up with this win. It's going to be interesting to see where Rosario puts her, and ultimately when he asks her to take that run at whomever may be in front of her, hopefully is in front of her for her sake. So that's the Juddmonte Spinster. We'll roll it back one race number 8 for the Grade 2 Bourbon Stakes. This is a 1.16 mile for the 2-year-olds, and this is an opportunity to gain entry into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf here at Keeneland. Hidden Enemy is a scratch. I think a fairly big scratch. This horse figured, even though he was a maiden for Steve Asmussen and LNN Racing. But I'm going to start the conversation with the number 4 horse, Into the Sunrise, for M Racing Group LLC. Here's a colt by Into Mischief, a Keeneland September sales graduate who takes the blinkers off. They added blinkers in his last race. That was the Soar Free Stakes, which was taken by Gretzky the Great, who would come out of this race as we roll it back for you at the end of August and pick up a victory in the Grade 1 Summer. And Into the Sunrise beats a horse by the name of Ready to Repeat, who was third in here, who was actually the favorite at even money over Gretzky the Great. He ended up finishing second in the Grade 1 Summer. Now, he's not going to get to Gretzky the Great once he goes past him, but he does dig in and outperform Ready to Repeat. I truly think that the step up in distance is not going to be an issue for him. He's home here at Keeneland for Wesley Ward. He's going to take the blinkers off and get him. Obviously, this has to do with the added distance more than anything one would think with Into the Sunrise. So I will make him my top selection with Rafael Bejarano, who has ridden him just 2 starts back in his second career start and his first start on turf. That was Ellis. So Into the Sunrise for me on top. Then the number 10 horse, my second choice, Mutasabek, another colt by Into Mischief. And he's not tried turf yet, but the mare, the Scat Daddy mare, Downside Scenario, all she did was race on grass, and we know that Into Mischiefs can do just about anything they want, and Pletcher's worked this horse a couple of times on turf. You've got to respect the Shadwell entrant, and you've got Saez, which is another positive given the day that he had yesterday. And lastly, Barrister Tom. I originally had the Asmussen horse, Gabby, as my third selection, but I go to Barrister Tom for Michael Ann Ewing, who surprised some folks at Kentucky Downs, 44-1. We'll see what kind of surprises she's got with this gelding with Flo going in this direction for Bantry Farms LLC.
So it's worth noting, we mentioned this yesterday in the Shadwell Turf Mile, Scott, that trainer Chad Brown has never gotten a victory in that particular race, and it's still true today, as Ivar got the victory yesterday. Wesley Ward has not won the Grade 2 Bourbon, which I find astounding because of his success with 2-year-olds, especially 2-year-olds on the turf, whereas Todd Pletcher, he actually has 4 victories in the runnings of this race in the past. So that's actually worth noting. I go in a different direction of both of those trainers and land on the number 1, Indy Tourist, for trainer Mike Maker, who comes out of the race against Barrister Tom. Now, Barrister Tom, he ran well. He was bumped hard coming out of the gate, but I thought he had a great position towards the inside on the best part of the track that day, whereas Indy Tourist, and we'll show you this race at Kentucky Downs coming out of the Juvenile Stakes, he just looked a little bit lost. You see him kind of out in the center of the field. He has this forward momentum, but Florent Giroux is really trying to ask this horse to go forward, and he's kind of going in, he's going out. He just looks like he's falling apart a little bit, hitting the divots. It just did not look like he liked the configuration of the course and just Kentucky Downs in general. But I thought it was an admirable performance from that standpoint. And you look back at his race 2 starts back at Indiana Grand, he won by 15 lengths in a field of 9 on the turf. When do you see that as a 2-year-old? And it's Mike Maker. So I do think that this is a horse that has legitimate talent, and that's the direction I go in. I think he'll improve off of that Kentucky Downs race, coming back to kind of a conventional turf course today. And the number 8, Arrest Me Red, is going to be the second selection for me for trainer Arnaud Delacour. I almost wanted to pick this horse on top, Scott. He was actually entered in the Jimmy Murphy yesterday on the Preakness undercard. Arnaud Delacour scratching him out of that race, opting to run in this race. He's a son of Pioneer of the Nile. He's out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare. He definitely looks like he can stretch out in distance. And visually, I was very impressed by his debut at Laurel Park. So I think there's a lot going in his direction. And then finally, the 4 Into the Sunrise. For many of the reasons that you said, Scott, I think this is a good horse. It's just a question of whether or not he can get the mile in a 16th today and relax. But the blinkers coming off, I think, will certainly help that.
I'm not going to get into a hot topic discussion when it comes to Lasix. This is just not the forum, and it's not the time we're handicapping. But going to Indy Tourist, what we're seeing this now, where we've got 2-year-olds that can race with Lasix in certain states and they can't race with Lasix in certain states. Does that concern you when you look at Indy Tourist and hit 15 length win came in a state that he was able to race with Lasix and he doesn't have Lasix today?
Definitely adds a lot more confusion to it, Scott. There's no doubt about it. I'm hoping that it was just a factor. Well, you say that, and yes, he was a 15-length winner, but actually the figure came back faster in his last race. So it's something to consider and think about for sure, especially with all of these juveniles, all these 2-year-olds this year. But I do think that he can overcome that.
All right, that is the Grade 2 Bourbon, part of the wonderful stakes card that we have here for you today. We'll get to the other in just a bit, part of our key race analysis for the afternoon. I'm going to take you to race number 5 as part of mine. This is a filly race, non-Motor 2 lifetime 2-year-old filly race going 6.5. And you can see the morning line, 2 horses put at 5-2. The grass is blue for Louis Lazanero and Chad Brown. Looks like a private acquisition off of a daylight victory at Monmouth when she was debuted for $25,000. And then you got Stanley Huff's Inject, the daughter of Frosted, who is out of that wonderful race filly and producer of Peeling Zophie, who's produced 2 stakes winners. And this filly comes off of a stakes attempt in the Pocahontas. She was drawn outside. She showed some speed, and then she faltered late, just fell apart late. Bottom line, she was beaten 36 lengths. But Stanley Huff is going to back her up in distance here today, and I think that that's going to be the key as we go back to her debut. This is mid-August at Ellis Park, and she draws off and wins by 6 lengths. She was just off the pace and coming around the turn. She's out in the clear under Julien Leperoux, and she'll run in 57-3, beating some solid fillies on this afternoon. She's got the pedigree. She's got the looks. She's got this kind of a race under her belt going 6.5 furlongs, and she's going to bounce back. That's my opinion of her. Otherwise, I don't see Stanley Huff forcing the issue with this filly. Why? Why would they? You could pack her away, bring her back at the age of 3. There's big races on down the line for horses with her caliber, pedigree, and that kind of performance under her belt. So Wasia's in the saddle. I think she bounces back here today. Inject for me in race number 5.
All right, well, I'm going to take us to the 6th race, the Indian Summer, presented by Keeneland Select, 5.5 furlongs onto the turf course. And unfortunately, we have 2 major scratches in this race, Scott. We've got the scratch of the 3 Wink and also the scratch of the 5 Golden Pal. Now, Wesley Ward, I believe, had 3 horses entered in this race. So 1 is left in the number 4, Roderick. I think you have to use this horse, just judging by what Wesley Ward has done before in the past. Usually if he leaves 1 in, that horse has a legitimate chance. So yes, you have to focus on Roderick getting to the turf for the first time. He's a son of Into Mischief. My top selection, unfortunately, scratched, Scott, but I still think that this is a competitive field. I landed on the 2 Bodenheimer here for Valerie Lund just because he was so impressive in his debut, and he came back in that race at Kentucky Downs, and you see it was a soft going. He did not handle it whatsoever. He hit a really bad divot coming down the stretch, pretty much in the final 16th of a mile, Scott, and he just lost all of his action. So I think that he is more talented than what he showed last time out on that soft going. And I think the same can be said for the 1 Cowan, who also comes out of that race on the soft going. It's so hard to make any solid, to have any solid opinion of horses coming out of that race because the turf was so soft at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, I mean, some horses can take to it, some can't. That's the bottom line. I would say don't sleep on Peter Miller's charge. He's very fast. He's trying turf for the first time. Peter Miller is lights out with these sprinters. California speed is deadly when it comes to sprint races. Time now for the Clocker Report. Race number 4 is where we will start with the number 5 horse who worked a half mile in 47 from the gate. Trains like a runner, finishes with style in his works. Look for a big effort from that runner in race number 4. And then in race number 6, Roderick, who we were just talking about, has trained superbly here at Keeneland, must contend with highly regarded Barnmate, which he doesn't have to today. So that opens the door for Roderick, who worked in 58-1. 5/8 of a mile. That's a quick time. Most horses can't run 58-1 on the afternoon in a race, but he worked that. Maybe that's, I need to reach out to Wesley and find out exactly why he's scratching. Maybe that's why he scratched these other two, and he's going to point them in a different direction because Roderick is doing so good, Gabby.
Could be. It would be an interesting conversation to have with Wesley just because time's running out. You have to run these horses if you're going to have them fully prepared for the Breeders' Cup.
Let's get to the pick 4 opportunities here today. Don't forget early pick 5. That starts in the opener just past 1 o'clock Eastern time. And then late pick 4 later on this afternoon. You'll do the honors with the late pick 4 ticket.
All right. I thought this was a tough sequence. I had to have a single, and I had to single Ollie's Candy and the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster later today because I think you need coverage in the 7th race, and you definitely need coverage in the 10th race. Race 7, 1, 4, 6, 8. For me, the top selection is going to be the 8 Repo Rocks for trainer Bill Mott. I just like 2 sprints now stretching out to 1 mile and a 16th, so he's probably the strongest opinion in the 7th race. And the 8th race, 1, 4, 8 for me. Again, Indy Taurus, the top pick. Into the Sunrise for trainer Wesley Ward, and then Arrest Me Red for Arnaud Delacour. The 9th race, the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster, 9 furlongs on the main track, singling the 2 Ollie's Candy. I just think she's the best distaffer, the best older distaffer in the race, and she can be tactical. And then finally, the 10th race, this is where you need coverage, 2, 4, 8, 9, 11, and I hope that's enough for a $30 play.
Let's go right into my ticket. Race number 7 obviously is the start of that. And I'm going to go in a similar approach to what Gabby did, 1, 4, 6, and 7. The difference, though, I'll go to the number 7 horse for Chris Davis, a Golden Sense colt who's been working up at Arlington Park. Think about Jimmy DeVito and what he was able to do yesterday in that 2-year-old race that they were able to blow past. I believe Happy Mac was his name, the Run Happy, who ran such a game race down on the inside. Then 4 and 10 in the Bourbon Stakes. For me, the full horse Into the Sunrise, my top selection, the 10 horse. That is Mudasik Beck for Todd Pletcher from that race mare that did nothing but race on grass. As far as the Spinster, I'm going to look for some coverage. I will use Ollie's Candy. I will use the Kentucky Oaks winner, She Dares the Devil. And then obviously I'm going to use my top selection, Lady Kate, on the outside at 6-1. I think today's her day. And then finally in race number 10, just a quick note as we look at the 4, 5, 8, and 9 as my plays in there. The number 4 horse, Candace O. She's a full sister to a filly by the name of Opry, who won the Grade 3 with anticipation in just that horse's second start. That was the first try on grass. So watch out for Rispoli, River Oak Farm, and Grand Motion in the nightcap. Race number 10 with Candace O. Comes from a nice family and should be ready to go under the guidance of Grand Motion. Time now for our best angle of the day. I'm going to go to race number 3. Another intriguing part of the card today is the fact that we've got a Grade 1 winner from the age of 2, Knicks Go. Did the light bulb finally go back on after so many losses from his upset victory in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity 2 years back? I say it does, but I don't think that he gets the comfortable lead that he did last time out. There's no way that that's going to happen. I think that there was some disrespect going on that day, and they just allowed him to lope along there out on the front end. Truthfully, I know the fractions were pretty solid, but he established a pretty easy lead. That's not going to happen here today. So I'm going to go to Royal Mesa for Phil Simms. This horse comes back to the form we saw at Keeneland. He almost sprung an upset during the July meeting here at Keeneland as we take you back to this. I had a significant win bet on this horse. You and I were sitting in the grandstand. I was going crazy. I thought he had won the race for a brief moment because he gets the lead, and he ran such a big race to Title Ready, who noses him out in the end, heads him out in the end. I think getting back to 2 turns, back to Keeneland where he's at his best, and Rafa's back in the saddle here this afternoon, Royal Mesa will be ready to roll. And interesting move, taking the blinkers off of this colt. Maybe they feel that he just didn't see the competition coming to him, and that'll get him to re-engage. A lot of times, speed horses, when you take the blinkers off, you get a little bit more from them, and they settle a little bit more in those races. Not saying he didn't settle nicely in that Keeneland race, but trusting the blinkers off move by Phil Simms, he is my best angle of the day. And you are staying in this same race, and I have a feeling you love Knicks Go today.
I'm smelling like a side bet cooking up right now.
Okay.
Because I think nobody can run with Knicks Go. Now, we had the side bet yesterday with Newspaper of Record, and you said the 2 would press her, and the 2 did not press her. So,
but what happened to the 2? What happened to the 2?
Stumbled out of the gate, but that's racing luck. I mean,
did Newspaper of Record make the lead, though? I'm not saying I
No.
lost the bet. I did lose the bet. I'm
You
sorry.
we both lost the bet.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's parlay everything onto
Fair enough.
our losses onto this side bet.
Okay.
I think Nick's Go is going to be on the lead, wire to wire.
Is that your angle?
Yep, that's
it.
Yeah, I don't think you think that he'll get pace pressure. You said that
He has to.
No, I don't think you.
Do you think that everybody is going to you think these other riders, they're just going to, Joel, go out there on the front end and lope along? You think that that's going to be, so then why run the race? That's what I say. Why run the race? Just hand him the check right now. Let's look at the replay.
Okay,
You're supposed to
yeah.
go to a replay, Gabby.
Let's go to the replay. This is at Oaklawn last time out, in which he won by 7.5 lengths, and he beat My Sixth Sense in that race, who would come back to win. And he's recently been competitive in 3 other than allowances at Churchill Downs. So this was a quality field. This was the first time coming out of Brad Cox's barn, and maybe he's just figured this out. Look, this horse has always been talented from the get-go, but clearly he wasn't performing to his full ability. And last out, that was definitely his full ability. I think Brad Cox gets this horse. He's going to get him right back in the winner's circle, go wire to wire today. And I like him so much, I really do think he's a single in the early pick 4, pick 5.
That's part of your 4 sequence there. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing I do have going against me is there's no Luis Saez in there. He would be trying to first.
True.
Somebody has to.
Ricardo?
Somebody has to go with Nick's Go in there. Just please.
I don't know.
For the sake of, so I don't look bad to Gabby. I know this is racing and it's not all about me, even though I try to make it about me from time to time. Let's go to Tom Leach's top pick of the day, his long shot play, race number 8. He's going to blame the booze. All right, it's a Sunday. Pedigree to love the turf and the increased distance award at 19% with the horse making their first start on grass. Son of Blame for Wesley. A couple of good starts, 2 sprints to a route. Another angle we talked about yesterday. Watch out for Tom Leach's Blame the Booze 8-1 in the Grade 2 Bourbon Stakes. That's it, Gabby. Good luck today. Really rooting for you. I hope you win everything. You deserve it.
Thank you. At least I hope the 4s win today.
I'm
Then
telling
I'll have a
you,
good day.
$5 or $10 pick 4, just straight. Just
I
let
will.
it roll. For Gabby, I'm Scott and the team today at Keeneland. Enjoy it. First post, 105.